Tonight, our special transmission as the Malaysian Prime Minister decries Western double standards on Israel's war. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I am Humaira Karodia. Today is the 159th day since Israel started its indiscriminate attack on Palestinians. Palestinian Health Ministry reports in the past 24 hours, Israeli attacks in Gaza have killed 69 Palestinians. 9 of these casualties occurred when an airstrike targeted a family home in Buriji refugee camp. Another 6 people have been shot dead by Israeli forces while waiting for food aid in Gaza. 83 aid seekers have been injured. 5 have lost their lives in an attack on a United Nations aid center in Rafah in southern Gaza. The UN Refugee Agency has urged an independent investigation into the repeated assaults on its facilities. 15 Palestinians have been killed in Khan Yunis, with reports of additional casualties in Hamad city. Israel's military is holding the remains of more than 65 Palestinians. These Palestinians have not been given final rights. Israel's military says its plans to transfer about 1.5 million Palestinian civilians trapped in Rafah to a so-called safe zone before launching a ground invasion. The death toll from Israel's war on Palestine is staggering. At the time of writing, 31,341 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces. Another 8,000 are presumed dead under the rubble. 73,134 have been injured. Israel's revised death toll from Hamas's attacks stands at 1,139. A research group has refuted Israeli claims that the creation of a safe zone inside Gaza is minimizing civilian harm. A report issued by the UK-based The Forensic Architecture says that the so-called safe zones have only led to displacement and further killing of Palestinians. The research group uses architectural techniques to investigate violence and violations of human rights around the world. The report argues that Israel's evacuation orders have resulted in forced displacement. It says Palestinians following the evacuation orders have been targeted. Poor mapping and confusing instructions has caused panic among displaced Palestinians. The report says Israel has failed to provide essentials like food, water, and medical care to displaced civilians. The report says Israeli settlers have destroyed infrastructure and agricultural fields. It notes that the evacuation orders have often led to the movement of displaced civilians to areas of Israeli military operations. A United Nations investigation has found that Israel violated international law by killing Reuters journalist Issam Abdullah in Lebanon. The inquiry concluded that an Israeli tank fired 2 shells at a group of clearly identified journalists. 40 minutes prior to the attack, there were no cross-border hostilities between Israel and Lebanon. The United Nations interim force in Lebanon says its observers did not witness any clash when the Israeli tank initiated fire. 3 separate reports from Reuters, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International corroborate that the attack targeted civilians without evidence of a military target nearby. The report says that the firing constitutes a violation of United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701 and international law. The resolution was intended to resolve the 2006 Lebanon War. The resolution calls for a full cessation of hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah and the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Lebanon. 6 other journalists were also wounded during the attack. The report is calling the Israeli Defense Forces to investigate and review procedures to prevent such incidents. South Africa's Minister of International Relations, Naledi Pandor, has announced that citizens drafted in the Israeli army will face action. They will face prosecution upon returning home. Pandor says a warning against joining the Israeli army was issued in December. This warning aligns with South Africa's case filed with the International Court of Justice accusing Israel of genocide. South African officials, including Deputy President Paul Mashatile, have reaffirmed their commitment to justice for Gaza. According to the Israeli Security Service law, all citizens, including dual nationals, are obliged to enlist in the military even if they are permanently residing abroad. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has condemned Western nations for their perceived inaction towards Israel's actions in Gaza. He is questioning their commitment to humanity and decrying what he sees as hypocrisy. Speaking alongside German Chancellor Olaf Scholz at a press conference in Berlin, Ibrahim has urged Western powers to abandon what he calls their selective and ambivalent stance on the issue. Ibrahim says that the conflict's roots run much deeper than recent events, spanning decades of Israeli policies against Palestinians. Despite differences with Chancellor Scholz on Israel's war, both leaders agreed on the urgent necessity of a ceasefire in Gaza. Scholz reiterated German support for Israel's right to self-defense. He also called for a humanitarian ceasefire during Ramadan to facilitate aid delivery to Palestinians. Russia says it is concerned over Muslims facing difficulties accessing holy sites in Jerusalem during Ramadan. Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova has urged for diplomatic solutions to the Israeli-Palestinian issue. Zakharova is advocating for a two-state solution and is calling for a collective effort to establish peace between Palestine and Israel. She has criticized U.S. vetoes on UN resolutions calling for a ceasefire. Zakharova has also opposed reverting to pre-war conditions once the conflict is over. She says only a two-state solution can bring lasting peace. Bank of Nova Scotia's asset management arm has decreased its investment in Israeli defense contractor Elbit Systems Limited. Elbit Systems is headquartered in Haifa, Israel. Filings with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission show Scotiabank's asset management has reduced its stakes in Elbit to 4.3% in the fourth quarter. It is down from 5.1% in the previous quarter. Bloomberg Media reports that despite this reduction, the fund manager remains the largest non-Israeli shareholder in Elbit. Heather Armstrong, a spokesperson for Scotiabank, has declined to provide specific reasons for the share sale. Last November, amidst a deteriorating humanitarian situation in Gaza, protesters briefly occupied Scotiabank's headquarters in downtown Toronto. Even before the conflict, Elbit's involvement had sparked controversy due to accusations of manufacturing cluster munitions. These munitions can pose risks to civilians during and after conflicts. ECO, an advocacy group, initiated a petition in 2022 urging Scotiabank to divest from Elbit. Elbit has denied producing cluster bombs. Scotiabank initially supported this position, stating its asset management arm does not invest in companies manufacturing such munitions. However, ECO continued its campaign. Scotiabank requested the removal of the petition, citing safety concerns for staff and customers. Despite the bank's request, ECO did not remove the petition. The petition has garnered over 16,000 signatures. Alite Systems is a major defense contractor and has secured contracts from Israel's defense ministry during its war on Palestine. The company shares have seen a rise of approximately 17% over the past year. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.